please.
All right. Hi, Marco. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me. Everything's all right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So thank you for coming here today. We'll be talking about your experience with the CFA program. So
Yeah.
let's start off by knowing a little bit more about you. So tell us what you do, who you are, when did you complete
Yeah.
the CFA program?
Yes. So, my name is Marco Afonso. I'm 38. I'm a Portuguese citizen, and basically, I'm a CFA charter holder. My background in terms of university is in finance as well, but my career is mostly related towards risk. I have 11 years of experience in many different organizations, in small, large sizes, and also in several countries around Europe. Currently, I'm based in Luxembourg. But yeah, and hopefully, yeah, hope new challenges will come in the future.
Mm-hmm. And were you always based in Luxembourg?
No, no. After I moved out of Portugal, I've been to Germany, and then I went to the Netherlands, and now I'm working in Luxembourg. Yes.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
said you have background in finance.
Yeah.
What drove you to choose the CFA program?
Well, basically because my career has mostly been in risk management, especially non-financial risk, which is not very consistent with my financial background. uh, because of a whole host of circumstances that led me to that spot. I felt that, all right, if I go through the CFA program, uh, maybe some doors might open to me in the field of the finance and the investment industry. And because I always wanted to move abroad at some point out of Portugal, I felt that this might be a tool or a gateway for me to do that step. And so that's why I decided, all right, this is going to be my full commitment. I'm going to dedicate this 100% uh, to some detriment to my personal life. My relationship with my girlfriend at the time suffered dramatically to the point that we had to break up. More or less in the middle of my preparation for the level one exam. So you see, it took quite a big hit very early on, but yeah, basically I decided this is what I want for my life. I want to move abroad. I want to have an international career, and this is the way to do it. In the end, yeah, I can tell that it didn't open me much of doors. Speaking of, because mid-career transitions, even with the CFA, you're still falling behind the people who have experience in the investment career and a very, very strong career in finance. But still, the knowledge that you acquire from there, it's a must. It's super eye-opening, and I can't recommend it enough. Regardless of the outcome, it's been a very, very good journey.
When did you start with your journey and when did you conclude it?
I began at I registered, and I remember to this day it was September 7th, 2018,
Okay.
when I registered for the level one exam, and I ended it. I knew that I passed the level three in late July 2022, and then received the charter about 2 months later. It took me 4 years because unfortunately my level two exam was postponed twice
Yeah.
because of the pandemic. So I was due to sit for the level two exam in May or June 2022. Sorry, 2020. That's correct. Then it was postponed to December to 2020, but then the second wave of COVID in Portugal came, and so it was delayed and postponed again to May 2021. So I did basically I took 2 years of study and preparation for level two. Yeah.
So we have a similar journey. I started in I think I wrote my level one in June 2019. And my
Yeah.
level two, I was supposed to write it as well in 2020, and it kept getting postponed. I think I
Uh,
got postponed like twice or three times, and it was like mentally exhausting. And I was like, hello. Like it
Now,
was
but let me tell
tiring.
you, in that regard, I think the most important factor for us is to never stop studying, because
Yeah.
if you interrupt, you lose everything that you prepared for beforehand. So even if you do it a little bit lighter, I always took care. All right, an hour a day, perhaps two, each and every day. Keep up with things in order to make sure that when the real preparation comes again, you don't start from zero. You see, I think that's important.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I remember when it got postponed, I think I took a couple of weeks of break, but then I was like, no, I have to start back at like revising and studying. I don't want to like forget
Yeah,
everything that I have done so far. But in a way, like I'm almost grateful that it got postponed the first time because I felt like I was not going to be prepared enough when I
yeah,
had to write it the first time. Like I just feel like there was so much material, especially for level two, that I was like, there was no way I was
yeah.
going to make it
It's a
for
lot.
the exam in level two.
Yeah,
It was a lot.
absolutely. The level of depth in terms of the curriculum from level one to level two is immense.
Immense.
I cannot emphasize that enough. Although I might say, and I believe that is also one of the things that your viewers will be interested in knowing. For me, the level three was by far the most difficult one because of the essay questions.
Hmm.
Because you know, with multiple choice, you may have some sort of idea, a rough estimation. You can do some process of elimination in order to get to the answer, to the right answer. But in in essay questions, you really have to know what you're talking about. You really have to hit the nail in the forehead.
Hmm.
So you can't really try to process of elimination. You really
Yeah.
have to know what you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah. So you touched a little bit upon my next question, which is which level did you find most difficult? And like you said
yeah.
level three. Uh, and I know there are people writing level three, I think in February. Do you have anything that you want to share in terms of the preparation, maybe, or any techniques that you have used?
Yes, specifically for level three, I, my preparation was a little bit on the basis of what I've heard previously from other candidates, which is, all right, do what you can to try to survive the essay questions, because at the time, now it's no longer the case, but at the time, the morning session was only essay questions, and the afternoon were only multiple choice. I think now for 2024, they are going to split between the morning and the afternoon session. We'll have both multiple choice and essay. So my advice would be in that regard that you cannot underestimate the difficulty of the essay questions. Make sure that you keep your answers very short and to the point, because you cannot afford to waste any time. It's very, very important. And you need to consider that you may find a little bit frustrating when you write the answer and then you will see the solutions and you have like dozens of lines of answers. Forget about it. It doesn't care. As long as you hit the key points, you'll be fine. Even though the answer in the solutions of mock exams and practice questions are much longer, but you don't need to write that much at on the exam. Just the key points. And if you use bullets in the answers, even better, because that keeps you on the very sharp end of the questions, on really the key points. And one last thing for the users which are in other jurisdictions other than the US, which was in my case, please practice the questions in a keyboard, which is the US one. And I tell you why, because I did all my preparation in the QWERTY keyboard with a Portuguese format. Even though I was already abroad, I used my personal laptop to do that. And when I got there, when I got to the exam location, the keyboard was in the US format. So it was an added pressure for me. Basically, I had to look at the keyboard every time I wanted to write something on the essay questions. Super nerve-wracking. Please, if you do that, you will find that it's going to be even trickier for you to tackle the exam. So make sure that you download the format for the US keyboard in your preparation, because that will be one less thing to worry about. That's very important. And then, of course, because it's going to be a more daunting task, the essay questions, you make sure that you make up for it in the multiple choice, because the multiple choice are very similar to the level 2 in terms of the level of difficulty. So you are already used to that.
Yeah, so to answer a little bit what you said, when I took level 3, it was already mixed. Like the morning wasn't just essay, it was essay and multiple choice question.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was already from 2023, I think, because I took the exam in February 2023.
Got it.
It was manageable, because I think if you only have essays, I think you're running out of time, you're chasing time. It's very, very
Absolutely.
difficult. And one thing that I always say to in all my video is basically it doesn't matter how much you're prepared, but if you mess up with the time management, then you're screwed for the whole exam. So it's
Completely.
very, very important that you manage your time well. And what you said about the keyboard, so I didn't know this, and I think this is a very good tip, especially for people who are not based in the States or in Canada. But one thing that I have done is when I did my mock exams, I actually I didn't write them in paper, but I actually typed them on a computer, so that at least I was familiarizing myself on what it will look like if I was actually writing
Sure.
the exam. Because I know that like it's one thing writing in a paper, but it's one thing writing formulas and answers on on an actual computer. And I think it's a good practice to do your practice mock exam in the
Absolutely.
laptop. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in general, and I think this is a very, very important point, coming back a little bit to what you mentioned before in terms of running out of time. In my case, I was always working a full-time job while I was preparing for the 3 exams. So my advice would be, please, as soon as the registration opens, register and get on the books, because you never know what's going to happen. Life happens, an accident or some unforeseen event may come that will take you a few days of your preparation off. So make sure you account for those and you start preparing as soon as possible. I always, during my preparation, I always took like 9 months, because it was always in all my exams were in May or June, so I always register for it in August or September. So yeah, you cannot emphasize starting early enough. It's very, very important.
Yeah, I also did the same thing as well. I think I always took, well, besides level 2, which was a particular case, which was literally a full year, a bit more than that. But even for
Yeah,
my level 1 and level 3, I always took at least like 9 to 10 months of preparation, because it's like you said, unforeseen things happen. We have seen it with the pandemic. Anything can happen, and then you
absolutely.
have to really change your schedule. Um,
Yeah.
so we spoke about the level that you found most difficult. Is there any level that you enjoyed studying?
I have to say, I enjoyed all three.
Okay.
All three. I must say, you cannot even imagine. But my feeling was when I finished the level 1, I felt I learned more about finance overall just by going through the level 1 than I did in all my masters in finance curriculum. It was so deeper than I could ever imagine. And just for a perspective, this is for me completely eye-opening in terms of the way you see things in finance. And so I think that if you really commit to yourself and you enjoy this, you will find a super fun journey. I can tell. For me, each and every topic of the program, and those are 10, are super interesting. Even the ethics, there are things in ethics that you can't even imagine, nuances that you find so interesting. So, but for me, the thing that I found probably most stressful were really the essay questions, preparing for those for the level 3, because you feel like you are in the middle of nowhere. How are you going to prepare? Because this is so different. You need to write, and so you really need to know things super well. For me, it was the most stressful thing, but the rest, super enjoyable. Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say it was a little bit annoying, the valuation and pricing of derivatives like swaps and all that. Yeah, it was a little bit stressful because it's completely new, but other than that, super fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mhm. So one thing I want to ask, because I do have a lot of people who are subscribed to my channel who are level 1 candidates. I know things have changed a lot in terms of the program, in terms of how many times the exams are offered. But for level 1 in specific, do you have any tips that you want to share for people who are writing the exam? Because I think level 1, I think it's probably the most difficult, I would say, challenge or hurdle, because this is when like you do have a lot of candidates signed up, but then only few pass to level 2. And so how can we increase the success rate for the people who wanna pass level 1?
Yeah, you touched a very good point that I almost forgot to emphasize, which is level 1. If you compare the level 1 with the other ones in terms of the curriculum itself, I would say it's easier. All right, but the level 1 has one difficulty, that it's a transition. You are probably a person either works full time, or you have some time available, because otherwise you wouldn't be pursuing the program in the first place. But it's a transition from having a normal routine, a normal life, then having a life in which you really have to commit to this. And this transition, for some people, is extremely difficult, because you're going to have to be extremely difficult. You're going to have to say a lot of times, no, I can't, to social events, family events, and other pursuits in order to do this, because this requires that much commitment. And so for me, I would say to CFA level 1 candidates that start early enough, as soon as you can, register for the program and start hitting the books. 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months are nothing. If you slack off, things will happen, and you end up having a month left or 2 months left, and you will find that you didn't prepare nearly enough. So start early. Second thing, be disciplined. Commit to a study schedule, whatever it is. Just make sure that you commit to it. You don't need to be afraid to devoting a little bit more time to specific topics which you find a little bit more difficult. But as long as you stick to the schedule, not necessarily to the day, but keep the rhythm moving, keep to a certain pace, and eventually you will get there in terms of your preparation. And make sure that you devote enough time, like I would say probably the last month, the last 1.5 months, to leave the curriculum aside and just do practice questions and mock exams. And even if you will find a little bit of an overkill repeating those over and over and over again, don't be afraid, because that's what really brings home the bacon. That's what really gets the knowledge stick to your head, you see. And so this is extremely important. I can tell just what I did was a little bit of an overkill. But the thing is, the learning ecosystem for level 1 has like 1,000 or 1,200, 1,300 questions, practice questions. And this not counting with the mock exams. But I would say for each level, I probably did those 5, 6 times. Because when I finished, I erased everything and I start all over again. And so I would say probably I did it. I did 10,000 questions, 10,000 practice questions, many of course repeating them over and over and over again. But basically, because at some point I did not have much to do in terms of my personal life and all that, I devoted everything. I put all the chips on this. And so that's why at the end of the day, I passed, as far as I can say, except for level 3, I don't know, but I always passed above the 90% mark, because I only did practice questions up to a certain point in my preparation. And no matter, and this is for your candidates, it's important to know, no matter what they throw at you, as long as you prepared enough, you will pass. Even if you fail 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, you will pass. You will know enough in order to succeed.
Yeah. I think those were very valuable information. And I also adopted the same strategy as you. Like I would practice those questions on the ecosystem. I would reset everything, restart again. The same thing with the mocks. Like it was an overkill. You're right. It was an overkill, but I think, practice is what you need, especially in the
Yeah,
last few months. And it's only with practice that you will know your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
And better safe than sorry. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
I agree. So those were all of my questions. And before we go, I do have 5 rapid fire questions for you. So
Absolutely.
are you ready?
Yes.
Are
Shoot
you
them. No
ready?
problem.
Okay, but you have to be very quick.
Yes.
The first question is, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Flying. I would love to fly on my own. It would be amazing. Amazing.
Okay. If animals could talk, which animal would be the funniest to have a conversation with?
That's a tough one. I would, well, because of my love of dogs, I would say dogs, because I would love to know how is it possible that they may be so loyal
Mm,
to their owner. I find that loyalty mind-boggling among the animal life. It's amazing. I find it's yeah. I can't tell. I can imagine how can someone be or anything be so loyal to the owner and to us, to humans.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. My third question is, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Well, if it's one type of food, I would, for instance, between sweet and savory, savory every single time, savory every single time. Uh, it's difficult.
Whatever
Well,
comes to your mind.
pizza. The first when you asked that question, the first thing that came to mind was pizza, whatever kind of pizza. But I was thinking, is that really it? Something so basic, but yeah, it is. It
Pizza is
is. In the end, it
good.
is.
Pizza is good.
Oh, it's amazing. I loved it. Yeah.
So, if you could have a celebrity as a friend, who would it be?
Any type of celebrity,
Anything,
anything.
anyone.
Ah,
Just choose whoever comes to your
I,
mind.
I can't. I can't find a specific name, but probably a writer. Probably a writer who uh, can, I know I don't know, but it would not be anything in the field of finance. Probably, I would say one thing that I would say is for sure is Dale Carnegie because that would be the guy that I really love to master what he preaches in his book in the How to Win Friends and Influence People. That would be the one more than anything else. That's the first thing that something that deals with human interaction. For me, this is absolutely key for you to do everything you want in life
Okay, perfect.
because you can never walk alone. You always need someone to help you at some point.
Okay. Last question. If your life was a movie, what would be the title?
I'm sorry, is
If your life was a movie, what would the title be?
yes. Wow. I would not say the first thing that came to mind was, well, something like a cliche, but from rags to riches. And I tell you why. Because my background is from humble beginnings. My family is not, my parents are not educated. They didn't finish basic school. And I didn't miss anything. They provided everything for me
Mhm.
well, in terms of essentials when I was a kid. But now I got to a point in life in which I reached much greater heights than they did. And so I'm at a point in my life in which, yeah, I can afford to do certain things, certain things that they could not afford. I'm fine. I'm good. And so I think that the journey that I did moving abroad and moving out of Portugal alone and doing everything on your own, and confronting all the obstacles, all the hurdles that comes with living abroad in another country and doing everything on your own. Yeah, I would say from rags to riches, even though I'm not a rich person in terms of wealth, money wise, but I think you learn a lot, and you pass through some things that makes you really turn into a mature person. And I think from that sense, it's a from rags to riches story.
Sounds good. I agree. I agree. Well, thank you, Marco, for being here today. Before we go, do you want to share your social media links? Because I know you also have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit where
Thank you.
people can find you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all your followers, and of course, thank you for you Uri, to having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Do you want to share your social media links?
Yes. So
Maybe
my
just mention
YouTube,
where, like, the name of your social of your YouTube channel.
yeah,
Of course, I will put the information in the description.
of course, my YouTube channel is Marco Afonso CFA. It's my name and CFA, and you can also easily find me on LinkedIn. It's Marco Afonso CFA again. So you'll be. It's very easy to find me because I don't think there's anyone else with that name. So with the CFA, so yeah, I think it's going to be very easy to find. At least from other followers that I have, of course, in my channel, they are they didn't tell me anything. They always told me super easy to find, so no problem.
All right. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Marco, for being here today. And this concludes
Thank you.
our interview. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.